1. The report of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on a petition to the Senate by the residents of Kajiado East and Kajiado West sub-counties concerning the alleged rampant livestock theft in the region and within Kajiado County in general. 2. A report of the Standing Committee on the National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on a petition to the Senate by Mr. Isaiah Ochanda, an employee of the former Department of Defense, concerning the non-fulfillment of the court order and decree made in 2011 against the Ministry of Defense and the Attorney General and the non-payment of disability pension from 1996 to date. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the report of the Standing Committee on the National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on a petition to the Senate by residents of Samburu County concerning persistent insecurity, cattle rustling, loss of lives and property in Loroki and Malaso divisions of Samburu Central Sub-County. I thank you, and I lay these papers on behalf of the chairperson of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Affairs.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 5, papers.
The Majority Leader.
You laid there. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, Wednesday, the 15th of May, 2024. This is a report of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on the Elgeyo Marakwet County Assembly resolution on measures to curb banditry in Kerio Valley. Further to that, Mr. Speaker, I lay the following papers as well. These are the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the following for the year ended 30th June 2023. Thika Municipality, Kikuyu Municipality, Kiambu County Jinue Fund, County Assembly of Embu Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme Fund, Trans Nzoia County Public Service Board, Kakamega Municipality. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chairperson, Standing Committee on Health. Or any member of that committee.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, which is the adoption of the report on the Standing Committee on Health on the inquiry into the alleged irregularities in the procurement of long-lasting insecticide-treated nets at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority. That the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Health on the inquiry into the alleged irregularities in the procurement of long-lasting insecticide-treated nets at Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, laid on the table of Senate on the Wednesday, 8th of May, 2024.
Now, Honorable Senators, before I allow the clerk to call the next order, allow me to make the following communication. Honorable Senators, as you may recall, Majority Leader and Senator Mariam, take a seat. As you may recall, at the sitting of the Senate held on Tuesday, the 19th of March 2024, the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Aaron ChERUIYOT, MP, rose on a point of order, seeking the intervention of the Speaker on the submission to Parliament by the controller budget of the reports on the implementation of budgets of the national and county governments. In the point of order, the Senate Majority Leader highlighted that from previous practice, quarterly reports on the implementation of the budgets of the national and county governments submitted to Parliament, the controller budget, were made available to senators in the designated pigeonholes. The senator further stated that in the recent past, he noted a deviation from the established practice, expressing concern that the lack of submission of the reports by the controller budget was hindering the senator's ability to effectively fulfill the oversight function. To this end, the Senate Majority Leader sought the guidance of the Speaker to require the controller budget to resume submission of the quarterly reports to the Senate. Senator Morango, the chair must be heard in silence. To this end, the Senate Majority Leader sought the guidance of the Speaker to require the controller budget to resume submission of the quarterly reports to the Senate and a statement of the practice of making the reports available in the Senator's pigeonholes. Honourable Senators, the point of order raised by the Senate Majority Leader was supported by the Senator for Kisii County, Senator Richard Onyonka, MP, and the Senator for Narok County, Senator Ledama Olekina, MP, who expressed concern that vital information on the reports of the controller budget was available in the media before submission of the reports to the Senate. The Senators further highlighted concern about potential misrepresentation of the reports by the controller budget in the media. Upon listening to the contributions made by the Senators on the point of order raised by the Senate Majority Leader, I directed that the controller budget appears before the Senate on Wednesday, 27 March 2024, to respond to the concerns raised by the Senators on the matter and to give an undertaking on the submission of the reports to the Senate. Now, Honourable Senators, Article 228(6) of the Constitution requires the controller budget to submit to each House of Parliament a report on the implementation of the budgets of the national and county governments. I have perused the report on papers laid in the Senate to ascertain whether the controller budget has been adhering to the provisions of the Constitution referred to herein above, and to establish that the reports on the budget performance for county governments and national government have been submitted to the Senate. From the report, the controller budget has submitted the following: Annual County Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the financial year 2021-2022, the first half; Annual National Government Budget Implementation Review Report for the financial year 2021-2022, County Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the financial year 2021-2022, first 9 months; County Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the financial year 2021-2022, first quarter; Annual County Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the financial year 2021-2022, County Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first quarter of the financial year 2022-2023, National Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first quarter of the financial year 2022-2023, National Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the financial year 2021-2022, National Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first half of the financial year 2022-2023, County Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first half of the financial year 2022-2023, National Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first 9 months, May 2023, County Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first 9 months of May 2023, National Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the financial year 2022-2023, Annual County Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the financial year 2022-2023, National Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first 3 months of the financial year 2023-2024, National Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first 6 months for the financial year 2023-2024, and lastly, the County Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first half of the financial year 2023-2024. These reports are tabled before the Senate on diverse dates between the 6th of October 2022 and 5th of March 2024, and subsequently referred to Standing Committee on Finance and Budget. The reports are available for circulation to all honorable senators through the Senate Journal's office. Honorable senators, that being the case, the matter of the appearance of the Comptroller budget before the Senate therefore does not arise. The matter rests there. I have the following further communication to make. I will allow honorable senators to walk in and take the seats before I make this communication. Majority Leader, you cannot raise on a point of order at this juncture. Please proceed to seek your clarification.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for your communication before the House. I respect it, but I greatly feel that it falls far way below what was the expectation of the House, in the sense that it addresses only part of what was raised, but there are other issues that are not addressed in your communication, which maybe you can guide in which way the House can be guided. Mr. Speaker, a reading of Article 228(6) is not only plain. In law, Mr. Speaker, they speak of the letter and the spirit. While the letter speaks of 4 months quarterly, the spirit, and indeed that is what led to members intervening that afternoon, has been that actually these reports were sent month by month basis. And there is a history to this, Mr. Speaker. I was a member of Budget and Finance Committee at that time when we had the meeting with the then Controller of Budget and agreed that for senators to perform their oversight duties more prudently, then it is important that a senator is furnished with the quarterly report, with the monthly reports on month-by-month performance of their county. And out of that meeting, Mr. Speaker, they began sending those reports to our pigeonholes. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I don't find, and I don't think that has been sufficiently addressed, because the reason I had requested that you ask her to come here is that so that she has an understanding of the history of how we arrived at that particular decision. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we had grown that conversation to a level where we said, apart from just dropping it into our pigeonholes, we live in the 21st century. This is a digital age that I submit my official email address, Mr. Speaker, of which I expect to be furnished with that particular report. And that by the time this Senate made that resolution, that was the eventual decision and the finding of the House. Therefore, I felt it was important for this current Controller of Budget to come before us so that she appreciates the history. Your letter, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, addresses the letter of the law, but not the spirit of it. Therefore, I want to plead with you, Mr. Speaker, and I agree with your ruling, I don't challenge it. If then through other means, you can find ways of communicating with her so that she appreciates why it is important for senators to have month-on-month reports on what their governors are doing with the finances that are being sent to their specific counties. That makes you a better senator, so that you don't speculate, you don't rumormonger, but you do things which you know are accurate and verified from government reports. If that can be addressed, Mr. Speaker, then I feel that the point of order will have been sufficiently dispensed with. I humbly submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader. As far as the Constitution goes, the Controller Budget has discharged her constitutional obligation. However, I hear you that beyond the constitutional requirements, there was an agreement between the Senate and the Controller Budget when they sat and agreed that instead of these reports being transmitted quarterly, they be transmitted monthly. We need not summon the Controller Budget before plenary to achieve that. It's going to be done administratively through the Office of the Clerk, and the Office of the Clerk is now obligated that whenever these reports are received, other than committing them to the Standing Committee on Finance, they must be made available to all senators by depositing the same in the pigeonholes so that they can be able to read and see the performance of their counties. Now, going forward, Clerk, you may have to engage the Office of the Controller Budget to submit monthly reports, which monthly reports must make their way to the pigeonholes of each of these honorable senators so that they can be able to follow how their counties are performing. I believe that can be done administratively without having to summon the Controller Budget to appear before the plenary. Let's rest this matter there.